Let's go to the next question. That is number 10. Owen Reynolds says, if Adam and Eve didn't have knowledge of good and evil, how would they know it's wrong to disobey God and to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Owen, I totally understand what you're saying here. It doesn't really make sense if we think that Adam, like and Eve, literally couldn't understand the concept of wrongness or rightness. Because how would they have known when God says don't do that? How would they understand that that's something you should not do? You should. There's an ought that's there. I think this is because we might be oversimplifying the term knowledge of good and evil. It just doesn't mean they simply had awareness that there was something right to do, something wrong to do. It seems to me to be something deeper than that, something bigger than that. And I struggle to define it personally, because I want to say maybe it's I guess what I lean on is saying it's the experiential knowledge. Okay, this is me trying to wrap my little brain around it. The experiential knowledge of doing right and wrong, knowing it more intimately. Before you ever stole anything when you were a kid, you knew what stealing was, perhaps, depending on how old you were, but you hadn't actually done it. Once you had stolen, now you knew what stealing was. You get what I mean? This is an experiential thing that's in a different fashion. You know, like there's those of us who know war because we know about it, we've heard about it, and so we understand concepts of it. But then there's those of us who've gone through it, been in war, and you know it in an entirely different way. And so Adam and Eve knew sin, they knew good and evil in a new way, and that changed them, and this spoiled them. And that's how I take that knowledge of good and evil. But then you have to explain, how does God have that knowledge? If it's an experiential knowledge of good and evil, and this is where I struggle, then how do you explain that God's the one who has that knowledge of good and evil as well? Because he says they're going to be like us, knowing good and evil. I think the thing is that the knowledge of good and evil that God has with his omniscience, he knows, always knows what it's like for you to sin, for you to go through those things. He knows the intimacy of the difficulties of, say, war or evil, but they haven't spoiled him. These things haven't spoiled him. God has that knowledge in full. They lacked it from human perspective. They don't have omniscience. And when they got it by sinning, it spoiled them. That's my best explanation. I'm sure that others might be able to handle that better. But yeah, I think we obviously need to not just take it as pure awareness of right and wrong, or else how is there any accountability for them doing wrong if they had no knowledge of what was right or wrong? I think that would be taking it too strictly.